Our interest rate tracker here is very helpful because let's have a look and see what is the change going on. And you can see that there is a significant change now. For the next interest rate decision, March the 17th, a hold is still seen as the most likely option. You notice, look at the way the curve has jumped, right? So that for May is now seen at 4.039 versus 3.92. So you've got 0.8, an 11 basis point jump after the RBA interest rate decision. So that does keep the Australian dollar just gently bid, right, in today's session. Now, remember what we're looking at here. Even though there's a jump there, the question is this now, right? And this is why a session like this is really helpful. Does this now change the bigger picture? And let me ask you a question. Would you be so convinced that the Reserve Bank of Australia is now going to be hiking interest rates that you could buy the Australian dollar against the US dollar and give it a 400-point stop? Would you? Right? And the answer should be no. It's not clear. Okay, they've done a hike, but will they do any more? Won't they? It's going to depend on incoming jobs data, incoming inflation data. If you look at what will decide the next decision, you can see in the RBA, where we go, let me show you here. Right. Job market conditions, so jobs data, inflation uncertainty. So inflation data is going to be important. Underlying inflation higher than expected, right? 3.4%, is substantially higher than expected in the August statement. GDP growth up, labor conditions solid, right? So in other words, the pressures are judged to be greater than previously anticipated. That's why you got the Australian gaining, right? They're looking at a cash rate of 3.9% in June, 4.2% in December 2026, and 4.3% in December 2027. So they're starting to expect a series of interest rate hikes coming. Look at the GDP, up 2.3 versus 2, 1 So everything is like supportive of the Australian dollar, right? And you can see here, if you look at the projections, you see it's up against the board. Now, that does give like a very short-term upside bias in the Aussie dollar. So there's two things you could do with it. So you can say intraday, okay, intraday, Aussie yen upside makes sense, right? So you can look at that and say, well, let me see technically what makes sense in the Aussie yen trade. Let's just see if I can, Aussie US dollar. All right. So you can see here on the data, up, got a nice little, see, that's the sort of, if you were trading that, that's the sort of trade you would have gone for. Short-term little pop from here, right? And now what you're getting is another little kind of trying to flag pattern. So if you wanted to take this long, like a decent area would be like this, long position, the break of that high here, and the break of that trend line with a 5-point stop, try up to 3 times. Okay. Don't get into buying it here and having a stop underneath this level because this could be an easy reversal for the Australian dollar. Right. It might be a buy the remember we're looking at buy the rumor, sell the fact response. That is the default to expect. It's the fact that the forward guidance has been higher, but how much is the market going to buy that? That remains to be seen, and it's an open question in my mind. And I'm not the only analyst saying that. Like the guys over at ING, they have a similar perspective, and it's one I share. Doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean ING right. Not saying that. But the point is if you're wrong, that's your level. By picking a level like this, you can go like, you could have one order cancels another. So stay above, stay long, right? Stay below, stay short. That way, you've only got a minimal risk around that level, which is the kind of the right level to have it. There's underlying reasons for yen weakness that are still there. So Aussie yen upside for today's session makes sense. Or the other way is to go for a trend line breakout and look at the on-balance volume pushing higher. That's a good proxy for volume in the spot market, one I like. And so if that on-balance volume turns green, goes up, right, and you break out through that level, you could have a little scalp higher.